He's a terrifying enemy of G.I. Joe. Destro is his name. Destro is his name. G.I. Joe, American hero, fighting evil Destro.
Hey, welcome to Half the Battle, and welcome, my friends, to the final part of main character May.
Today, we'll be taking a look at Destro in the cartoon, and maybe, if there's time, talk about some other stuff too. He made his debut in the opening miniseries, The Mass Device, which I have already reviewed. The opening theme, and it's only this miniseries opening theme, has the words G.I. Joe against Cobra and Destro. All the ones that came after changed it to Cobra the Enemy.
It's G.I. Joe against Cobra and Destro. Fights G.I. Joe against Cobra the Enemy.
So in the very beginning, they wanted to keep him separate from Cobra, even though the actual plot doesn't really support that. His role here was building the Mass Device, but much like in the comic, he doesn't suffer fools gladly, so he ends up overthrowing Cobra Commander. In his first appearance, he's a bit more ruthless and evil, not yet the more nuanced character he'd become. Now, while he does show more honorable traits later on in the series,
he doesn't have a story arc like he does in the comics, since the cartoon is mostly episodic and only sometimes builds on previous episodes.
Also, his role within Cobra changes depending on what the plot of any given episode needs. In The Revenge of Cobra, he's the inventor of the Weather Dominator.
With my new invention, the Weather Dominator.
But being Cobra's inventor doesn't last, as they usually kidnap scientists or get an evil scientist of the day to come up with whatever the MacGuffin of the episode is. Sometimes he is actually Cobra's weapon supplier, like seen in Light's Camera Cobra.
So you can sell us a new one? You saved me.
I saved a customer.
By the way, this is also the episode where we see that Destro knows what Cobra Commander looks like.
Commander, your hood. Put it on.
It takes a strong stomach to watch me eat.
Though that creates a plot hole in G.I. Joe the movie where it's revealed that the commander isn't human. Something I think Destro would have remarked upon here. Other times, he's just a high-ranking Cobra. Like in the comic, he and the Baroness are in a relationship, though it's more turbulent. In Spell of the Siren, she uses a magical seashell, just go with it, to brainwash every male in both G.I. Joe and Cobra, except Destro.
If you put me under the siren spell, you'll have no one with whom to share your triumph.
And sometimes the relationship is played for laughs.
Stop that, Destro!
She had something in her eye, Cobra Commander.
Other times, though, it's deadly serious.
Which brings me to one of my favorite episodes, and one that focuses on Destro.
Skeletons in the Closet. In it, we learn about Destro's family history and why he wears a mask, as he explains this to the Baroness cosplaying as Carmen Sandiego.
It's a long story, and we will get into that.
One of my ancestors was convicted of witchcraft. He was forced to wear a mask over his face for the rest of his life. His descendants were so angered that they vowed to fight the forces of law and order forever.
There, another reason for the mask. Not because he sold arms to both sides, not freaking nanomachines, but because he was convicted of witchcraft. Yeah, remember earlier in the month when I said the real-life things were used as punishment for witchcraft?
This episode confirms that's where the inspiration came from.
Now, obviously, every witch trial in the history of, history was complete bullcrap, as there's no such thing as witches. But here, in the fictional world of the G.I. Joe cartoon,
yeah, they may have had a point.
Because in this episode, we also learn that Destro's entire family is a Cthulhu-worshipping cult. Okay, it's Cthulhu with the serial numbers filed off, but it's an actual eldritch horror that lives in Destro's basement.
So yeah, burn the witch!
As an aside, this has nothing to do with Destro, but I don't know when else I'd ever be able to bring it up, so I want to quickly talk about the one real-life witch trial that was actually totally legit.
And it's not what you think or when you think.
It happened in 1950, yes, you heard that correctly, 1950, in the Belgian town of Dessel. A couple of villagers accused a local woman of witchcraft, so she sued their asses for defamation of character and won. And that was the last witch trial in Western Europe.
I just wanted to throw that historical tidbit out there.
Anyway, the Joes find out about this whole thing thanks to Lady J, and the result is Castle Destro getting reduced to rubble. Man, this guy can't catch a break in any continuity when it comes to his house, can he? The kicker is that the Baroness arranged it all to punish him for flirting with another woman at the beginning of the episode.
I arranged it all. Why? To make you pay for your unfaithfulness.
Hell hath no fury indeed. Also, we learn that Destro and Lady J are distantly related to each other.
I checked the records, Destro, darling. You are!
The biggest conflict between Destro and the Commander occurs in a parallel universe where Cobra's taken over the world, and they end up starting the Cobra Civil War. Though, since it's another reality,
we never find out how that all ended.
As the cartoon series went on, Destro was moved more and more into the background in favor of newer characters like Dr. Mindbender, since they had new toys to sell. Still, across the whole Sunbow series, he had a pretty good showing. This brings us to the D cartoon.
Oh boy.
He appears in the opening miniseries, Operation Dragonfire, and if I had to describe it in one word, it would be inexplicable. First of all, he's in his Iron Grenadier outfit, but that faction isn't a thing in the Deke series. Characters from them do show up, but they're just part of Cobra, and so is Destro. Secondly, and most baffling, he's dumped the Baroness and is now dating Zarana.
Which doesn't make sense on any level.
Also, Mainframe would be pissed if he existed in the Deke series, which he doesn't. He ends up back with the Baroness by the end of it, and there's really nothing much more to say about him here. He returned in the regular series sporting his 1992 look, and because this is the Deke series, which was aimed at a younger audience, he's almost as much as a goof as Cobra Commander himself. Also, for reasons I will never be able to comprehend, he uses a stick as a weapon. A wooden club.
He's the arms dealer!
And that was Destro in the cartoons.
Though I have a few more points to make.
For one thing, he's supposed to be Scottish, but this voice actor really isn't.
And you know what? That's fine!
I love how he sounds in the cartoon. That deep, menacing voice is what Destro sounds like to me, period.
How badly do you want the answer, Joe? Enough to trust me?
Plus, we saw them do a Scottish accent in the cartoon, and it, wasn't great.
I come to talk about the sword. Excalibur it is.
Moving on to other stuff, one thing that's always kinda bugged me is that his mask has facial expressions. Hell, this even happens in the comic, but Deke took it to Looney Tunes level at certain points. Sunbow was better about it, and I can understand artistically, but yeah, technically the mask shouldn't move.
To round things off, there's a few other things that I didn't mention in the previous 4 parts of Main Character May, but that are still worth mentioning.
Firstly, just take a look at Destro and the Baroness. Look at their outfits! You can't tell me these two aren't into hardcore BDSM.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, no judgment here.
But it's strange to see in a line of children's toys. Secondly, in the Cartoon Network series Evil Con Carne, there's a character called Estroy, who looks an awful lot like a tuned-up Destro. Yeah, this is a straight homage to the G.I.Joe character. While Destro is the word destroy without the Y, Estroy is that word without the D. What's interesting is that I think Destro is a perfectly fine name for a villain, while Estroy just sounds really stupid, which I think is what they were going for. Guess you can lose the Y, but you really need the D. Just ask the Baroness.
I know it's a horrible pun, but I just had to.
Going back to the mask.
Yeah, sorry I talk so much about it, but it is his defining characteristic.
It's made of beryllium steel. I had to look this up, but beryllium is a real element. Just not one that's used to make a mask. Because inhaled beryllium-containing dusts can cause a chronic life-threatening allergic disease in some people called berylliosis.
That sounds nasty.
Lastly, remember this guy, the Red Jackal? Remember back in the first episode how I said he's a completely different character that only uses Destro's mold?
Well, that was true until it wasn't.
Okay, so the Action Force storyline by Palitoy started out with their own unique molds and an original storyline, namely Action Force versus Baron Ironblood, this guy, and his Red Shadows. Then Palitoy made a deal with Hasbro to use their toy molds, but recolored them and still being unique Action Force characters like Quarrel, etc. Red Jackal was a member of the Red Shadows, and all of this was seen in their own comic book series. But then Palitoy decided it would be easier and cheaper to just use the G.I.Joe toys as is. No more unique characters and no more unique story. It would just be G.I. Joe, with the only difference being they still held on to the Action Force name.
This was a slight problem for the comic book as it meant a radical shift in the story.
How did they solve this? Well, Baron Ironblood got fed up with his forces constantly losing to Action Force, so he himself leaked information on all their bases, causing them to be wiped out by the good guys.
Yeah, he destroyed his own organization.
Then he went into hiding, changing his appearance and renaming himself Cobra Commander, starting Cobra. So in the UK, the commander is this guy.
But wait, what about Red Jackal, I hear you ask?
Well, he survived the Action Force assault and went after Ironblood, now Cobra Commander, for revenge. He found him but was overpowered. The commander chose to spare him and renamed him Destro after the last word he screamed as he attacked: destroy.
Why yes, this is incredibly convoluted and doesn't make sense if you think about it for more than 5 minutes, but that's what they did.
And so Red Jackal actually became Destro, in a sort of, well, the opposite of a retcon, I guess you could call it, future con?
And with that, we've come to the end of main character May.
We saw some cool toys, probably the best character in the comics, and some historical information that will scar us for life.
You're so very welcome. Well, I'll see you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing?
He's a terrifying enemy of G.I. Joe. Destro is his name. Destro is his name. G.I. Joe, American hero, fighting evil Destro. Introducing Destro.